Welcome back, everyone, to Sip and Talk.
Great to be here.
We're going to jump right in today, try and make sense of some really big, maybe kind of spicy global stuff happening right now.
Yeah. Think of it as us connecting the dots for you so you see the bigger picture without getting totally overwhelmed by, all the headlines.
Exactly. So today we're looking at three main things. First, what's the latest with Trump's tariff talk and, what does that actually mean for the economy globally?
Then we'll check the pulse of the world economy generally, see what's bubbling up there.
And finally, this is a big one, the reports about U.S. troops in Taiwan. What is actually going on? Why is it such a potentially huge deal?
Right. And all these things, they really do connect. They could affect everything from, geopolitics down to the price of stuff you buy. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, let's start with the tariffs. It feels like we're always talking about tariffs, but there's new movement here, specifically targeting Russia.
That's the latest headline, yeah. A threat of pretty high punitive tariffs on Russia if the conflict doesn't stop in 50 days. And linked to that sort of was talk about more weapons for Ukraine.
But the interesting part, or one interesting part, is these tariffs aren't hitting Russia directly so much as the countries buying Russian oil. We're talking India, China.
Exactly. Those are the big ones. Importing massive amounts, sometimes re-exporting it too.
So it's kind of like maybe Putin doesn't care that much directly, but India and China definitely would. Is that the angle?
Well, that's one interpretation, yeah. It puts the squeeze on nations helping Russia's economy, maybe indirectly. It's a different kind of pressure than just sanctioning Moscow directly. Makes you wonder about the ripple effects,
Yeah, totally. And politically, back home, it kind of plays into that desire some voters have for, less direct U.S. military involvement, right? Tariffs seem tough, but it's not troops.
Precisely. It fits that narrative. And then there's the other piece you mentioned, the idea of NATO allies maybe buying U.S. weapons for Ukraine.
Right, shifting the cost burden.
Yeah, lighten the load on the U.S. taxpayer, get weapons to Ukraine, let Europe foot more of the bill. But the big question is how smoothly that actually works, getting the right stuff there on time. That's always tricky.
Okay, so tons of tariff talk, potential geopolitical shifts.
Yeah.
You'd think Wall Street would be freaking out, right? But it seems surprisingly calm.
It is surprisingly calm.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the U.S. stocks, Dow, S&P, NASDAQ holding strong, even climbing, especially with all the AI excitement.
It's wild.
It really is. It's almost like the market's reaction is just, all right, we've dealt with this before. A bit of deja vu, maybe.
So why is it so calm? I mean, shouldn't we worry about inflation spiking again?
Well, a few things. First, the market kind of absorbed the last round of 10% tariffs without causing that dreaded stagflation thing.
Yeah, stagflation. Nobody wants that.
Definitely not. And companies, they've gotten pretty good at juggling this stuff short term. They buy inventory ahead of time, they tweak supply chains, maybe a weaker dollar helps offset costs.
So the real hit, if it comes, might be months down the line.
Exactly. It's often delayed. Not usually an immediate shock to inflation numbers or company profits.
Yeah.
It takes time to filter through.
Okay. And what are the big forecasters saying? Goldman Sachs. Are they worried?
Well, Goldman's take is interesting. They think if we don't get more big tariff shocks, inflation could actually drift back down to that 2% target, maybe late 2025, 2026.
Okay.
But if the tariff hits keep coming, they see inflation staying a bit higher, maybe hanging around 2.4, 2.5%. It's kind of sticky, but not, runaway inflation.
Sticky inflation. Right. Okay. That makes sense. Now, let's pivot to the Fed. Jerome Powell. Seems like he's constantly getting hammered, especially from the White House, right?
Oh, absolutely. The pressure to cut interest rates is relentless. And you even see these jabs about the Fed building renovations, calling it extravagant.
Yeah, I saw that. Imagine trying to run the economy while people are tweeting about your office renovations.
Seriously. And there were even those rumors flying around on X about Powell resigning.
Yeah. But the market barely blinked. What was that about?
It was pretty muted, wasn't it? I think the feeling is the Fed's independence is pretty solid. Even if Powell left, whoever came next would probably stick to the same general path on rates. The institution is seen as strong.
But, okay, just thinking hypothetically, if he was somehow forced out, what would happen? Markets wouldn't like that, surely.
No, they wouldn't. You'd probably see a quick dip in stocks, maybe 3 or 4%, and bond yields would likely jump up, maybe 30, 40 basis points. That's a noticeable tightening. It would definitely cause some short-term ripples, big ones.
What's kind of surprising, though, is how much agreement Powell actually seems to have inside the Fed, despite all the noise outside.
That's a really key point. He's actually been one of the most consensus-driven Fed chairs ever. He gets the committee on board for the rate decisions. So that tougher stance, it's not just him. It's the Fed speaking with, well, mostly one voice. That gives their decisions a lot of weight.
So they're unified, sticking to their plan despite the political heat. What does that mean for rates going forward then?
It means they're probably going to keep doing what they think is right based on the economic data, not politics. If a change happened at the top, yeah, people would parse every word from the new person. But ultimately, if deflationary trends continue, rate cuts are likely still on the table down the road. They'll watch the data.
All right, got it. Okay, let's shift gears completely now from economics to some pretty serious geopolitics. Taiwan. Yeah. These reports about U.S. Special Forces, Green Berets, maybe being permanently stationed on Kinmen and Penghu Islands. That feels huge.
It is potentially huge, yeah. And incredibly sensitive. The reports link it to the 2023 National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA. If it is a permanent stationing, it's genuinely a historic shift in U.S.-Taiwan military relations, a much deeper commitment.
And we're talking Green Berets, right? The 1st Special Forces Group. What are they supposedly doing there?
That's the unit named, yeah. U.S. Army 1st Special Forces Group, 2nd Battalion. And they're reportedly working very closely with Taiwan's own elite units, the 101st Amphibious Recon Battalion, their airborne special forces.
Wow. And the training sounds intense. Night raids, getting behind enemy lines. I even heard about tiny drones.
Yeah, the Black Hornet nano drones. Really cutting-edge stuff for surveillance. But here's where it gets a bit fuzzy, the numbers. Some reports throw around figures like over 150 U.S. personnel.
Okay.
But official sources, U.S. and Taiwanese, seem to suggest much lower numbers, maybe around 30, sometimes framed as just security for the American Institute in Taiwan, the AIT. So there's a gap there.
A pretty big gap. And is there like a command center or something?
Reports mention a coordination center set up in Taiyuan Longcan. And this whole effort seems tied into Taiwan's big annual military exercise, Hanquang 41, that involves like 22,000 troops, live fire, the whole deal. They're apparently integrating U.S. operational methods into that training.
Okay, beyond the specifics, what's the bigger strategic picture here? This is more than just training exercises, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Many see this as a historical watershed moment.
Yeah.
It shifts Taiwan from being just, a piece on the chessboard to being actively positioned as a front line of the free world. It fits squarely into the broader U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy aimed at countering China. It's about deterrence.
But there's that debate about the actual islands, Kinmen and Penghu. Kinmen is, 10 kilometers from the mainland? And no deep water port. It seems kind of exposed.
That's the strategic dilemma, exactly. It's like setting up a very visible outpost right on your neighbor's doorstep, but maybe not in the most defensible spot.
Yeah.
Even online, you see discussions questioning how effective those specific islands could be in a real conflict, despite the better training. So the value might be more about sending the message of U.S. commitment than purely tactical defense.
Makes sense. So how's this playing out? What are the reactions, especially in Taiwan?
In Taiwan, it's getting massive media attention. Outlets like ET Today, Yahoo News, they're really highlighting the historic nature of this cooperation. It's seen as a very big deal.
And what about military analysts in the region?
Commentators, like one known as 486 Oling, tend to see it as a major headache for China. They view it as something that will definitely raise tensions, a direct challenge to Beijing.
And China's reaction, I assume they haven't officially said much yet, but historically, any U.S. military on Taiwan is a red line, right?
A major red line. Based on their one China principle, any foreign military presence is a violation of sovereignty. So while we're waiting for the official word, you can bet the reaction behind the scenes is strong and likely will be public soon. We're already seeing chatter on social media stuff about maybe a bar brawl accidentally exposing things, or even wilder theories about infiltration plots.
Wow. So bottom line, is it actually confirmed? Are U.S. forces really there training?
Yes. The core fact seems confirmed by multiple credible sources. U.S. personnel are present and conducting training. The ambiguity lies more in the exact scale, how many people, and the nature. Is it truly permanent or just a very steady rotation? That's the part that's still a bit unclear in the official statements. But the cooperation itself, that seems real.
Okay, so stepping back again, what does all this mean for Taiwan, and what does it mean for China? Let's start with Taiwan.
For Taiwan, it's clearly a boost. Militarily, their special forces get better training, deeper ties with the U.S. Strategically, it elevates their status, makes them feel more like a key part of that Indo-Pacific front line. And politically, it strengthens the U.S. relationship, boosts confidence.
Okay, and for China, how do they see it?
From Beijing's perspective, it's U.S. interference, plain and simple. a challenge to the One China principle. Strategically, it looks like increased U.S. military entanglement, raising the risk of escalation. And internationally, it just adds more fuel to the U.S.-China competition fire. They'll likely have to adjust their own military posture in response.
So what should we, be watching for next?
Definitely watch for official statements from Taipei, Washington, and especially Beijing. Look for China's actions. Diplomatic protests are certain, but will there be more military drills, more patrols around Taiwan? And really, the key thing is the long-term impact on the military balance across the strait. This isn't just news, it's a potentially game-changing move.
Wow, okay. What a packed conversation today. So, quick recap. Trump's tariff talk continues, but it's a complex game, maybe hitting allies or buyers more than the target, Russia, directly.
Right, and the markets are kind of saying, meh, for now, absorbing it, though inflation might stay stubbornly above target.
And the Fed, under Powell, seems surprisingly solid internally, likely sticking to its independence despite political noise.
And then the huge one, U.S. troops in Taiwan, deepening military ties in a way that really changes the strategic map and is bound to get a strong reaction from China.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? In this world where everything's connected, how much stability relies on these kinds of subtle, or maybe not so subtle, shifts and signals? Lots to chew on.
Definitely. The global chessboard is always moving.
Well, that's our time for today's Sip and Talk. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss our next chat.
Yeah, and hey, check out our friend Mickey's YouTube channel, Mickytolife. He puts out some really great videos. Go see his latest.
He really does. All right, that's it from us. We'll catch you next time right here on Sip and Talk.